Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Chase Jarvis. Welcome to another episode of The Daily Creative. This is the daily show where I take your questions, I record them, I listen to them. When you call in, I answer them in this little video format here. 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 questions in an episode. We all have so many questions that are the same questions. I'm trying to answer hundreds of questions and hopefully adding value to you. If you want your question answered, stay to the end of the show where I'll leave that number that you can call in, or maybe you can put it at the bottom of the screen or something. But for now, let's get right into the show. It's gonna be good.
Hello.
Dominique, it's Chase Jarvis.
Hi, Chase. How's it going?
It's good. How are you? Where in the world are you?
I am in sunny San Diego, California.
I love San Diego. I went to school there. I love it. Say hi to San Diego.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
I miss it. I miss it deeply. I'm in Seattle, but it's pretty nice. So, not judging, and definitely jealous. You should go get in the ocean. If I could do that right now, I would. But I understand you have a question. We're shooting the show right now. I'm looking at a camera and I'm listening to you. But I'm excited to hear what you have to say, and I'm hoping that I can help.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I've professionally been a pastry cook for the last 10 years, aspiring photographer, it's hardcore travel junkie. I'm actually at Travel de Chanel, but my question is regarding self-worth.
Self-worth.
I recently wanted to take my love for photography to a more lucrative passion, but I'm a bit nervous about asking friends and potential clients to pay what I think my work is worth. And especially if I'm passionate about the project, either lowball them or end up doing it pro bono.
Okay. So I'm going to ask a follow-up question, and I'm going to take this in a couple directions, as I often like to with these questions. I'm going to take my answers in a couple directions. So you said in there that you're asking your friends what you should charge, and I think that I'll tell you, my dad, sometimes he watches these, and so Dad, this one's going out to you. My dad, when I was first getting started, he was telling me that I shouldn't charge money. In fact, I should pay people to let them, and I love my dad to death. The guy's awesome. But so I don't think that's the best source of advice unless your friends are super kick-ass professional photographers. If that's the case, then you might be able to get some advice from them. I do think that you made good use of your time and calling into the show, because I think I'm going to give you some very powerful advice. It's very simple, but I think it's going to be helpful. So there's a couple different pieces to the puzzle, as I said a second ago. One of the things, there's the piece that you have to get comfortable with how much, this is, to be clear, this is how much your work is worth in the marketplace. This is not how much Dominique is worth as a human. So you need to separate those two things. It's very important that how much money you're making does not equal your self-worth. That is a spiral that I see creatives get into, and it's a good way to feel really shitty about yourself really fast if you want $5,000 and someone's only willing to pay $500. So you need to find a way to maintain a master psychology so that you don't get sucked into that thinking that you're not worth something. You are awesome, and that's the first thing you need to remember. Now, second of all, you need to be really comfortable asking for money. And the way you get really comfortable asking for money is you practice. You have to practice negotiating. And there's all kinds of amazing resources. I did a Chase Jarvis Live with a friend named Ramit Sethi a while ago. You might know him, Ramit. He's at Ramit on Twitter. You should watch that episode. There's a lot of really helpful information on negotiating. On CreativeLive, there are classes about how to negotiate. So you need to practice, and you need to be able to look yourself in the mirror and ask for what you think the project is worth. I'm about to get to another piece in just a second here, but I can't stress this enough. You have to be confident. And there's another woman who's also on CreativeLive called Vanessa Van Edwards. I think she's got a class about negotiating. There's all kinds of subtle little tips, like if someone says, well, how much, what is your rate for this job? And you say, my rate is $2,000. If you have this up inflection at the end, that is that's a signal of a lack of confidence that you're asking if the person thinks that it's worth $2,000. And the more concrete and galvanized you can be, it's like, oh, that's $2,000 bucks. I can find a way to make it 4,000 if you want to add A, B, or C. And knowing that you would do it for 500 internally, because right now you're scared shitless and you've got bills to pay. So this is a skill that you practice. You should practice on your friends. You should practice on anywhere that you can. And I believe that coaching and taking classes is a very valuable piece of that equation. So that's how you negotiate and ask for money. And now I'm going to give you the other half of the equation, which I think might even be more valuable. You're asking your friends to how much this should cost, and they have no freaking idea. They don't know. They don't know what the marketplace can validate. And I was able to, at some point in my career when my confidence was increased by the quality of my work, was increased on all you need to do is you need to get a couple jobs, and then it's sort of like, what is it, a rolling stone? No, that's the snowball. I don't want to say gathers no moss. Snowball. You pick up steam and momentum, and you gain confidence over time. But what you need to do for your pricing, this is my recommendation, there are all sorts of industry standards. Everyone will tell you that, well, a wedding should cost X. I say bullshit to all that. You can charge, I was charging at sometimes the most absurd rates, and all you need is someone to say yes. And once you get someone to say yes at that amount of money, then you might want to try and swim upstream next time and next time. So ultimately, just beware of benchmarking yourself to your peers around you. There is this thing called anchor pricing, which, like I'll just say for online video rentals, people think that it should be 10 bucks a month. Netflix started that a long time ago, and now you'll notice that that's how much Spotify is, that's how much Apple Music is, there are these benchmarks. I love, you've heard me say, be different, not just better. I've positioned myself very intentionally as a premium product in the marketplace. I don't know, I'm not going to assume where you are, but I want you to be intentional. Second of all is what problem are you solving for the person who you're sitting in front of? I try and make relatively unique, and this is maybe not true if you're a wedding photographer or senior portraits, but in the commercial world, I like to try and understand the problem that I'm solving for them and then assign a value to that. For example, if I can shoot a photograph of these new, the fancy new Panerai watches that are coming out, and I know the watches are $10,000 each, and the value of the shoot, the production is $20,000, and if they sell X number of units, they're going to make millions of dollars. Then I don't run after millions of dollars, but I have an understanding in my mind of what they've paid before or the value that I'm contributing. And then I try and base my conversation off of, I'm asking them like, well, how much is it? What's the biggest problem here? What are you trying to solve for? And they say, oh my gosh, we spend all this money in advertising, but our advertising is not very effective. And it's like, if we take some amazing photographs and you could sell 2% more, how much would that be worth to you? And they might say, oh my God, that would be a game changer, it'd be worth millions. Well, then you start to understand the value that you play in that equation. That doesn't mean you're going to ask for millions of dollars, but it allows you to position yourself relative to the problem that you're solving instead of some bullshit abstract day rate that someone in some trade group told you how much you should charge. Now that is an art to be able to do that in real time and not be all sweaty and panicky and be confident. So if you can't ask for $2,000 right now, this is some advanced shit, but the way you get there is by studying myself or Ramit or a lot of these classes I'm talking about on CreativeLive. So now it's time for me to ask you a question because I realized I just fire hosed at you for like 5 minutes. But what line of work are you in? And this might allow me to give you just a little more fine-tuned point of view on your pricing.
What line of work am I in currently?
Yeah, what line of work are you in? Like, what are you skeptical about? Is it like senior portraits or commercial, or I missed that part of what genre of creative you are?
Right, and it's kind of understanding and I've been process of elimination because photography was just something I did for love, but It's pretty much I do food and traveling is a big one for me.
Okay.
But in a whole, I wanted to more tell a story through it, and it was more like a wanting to do portraits in there,
Sure.
which sounds kind of all over the place.
Sure.
But it's kind of trying to marry all those things, something
Yep.
that's like authentic to my identity, and then learning this new skill with portraits in there. So
Sure. Okay. So
that
let me
kind of
yeah, no, that's
direction.
helpful. Let me give you a little more context. If you, in a previous episode of Daily Creative, there was some person that said that they wanted to marry two things, that they wanted to be a designer and a DJ. And could they put those two things together? I don't know many people that hire designer DJs or DJ designers. So I would try and lean into something that the industry knows and that people write checks for on a regular basis. In this case, it's travel photography. And it's easier to carve your own niche after you have some momentum. So the analogy I've given in the past is if you have, like, there are some things in the world where you want to fit into budgets and timelines and expectations, and then what you want to do is use that and then run 100 miles beyond it and over deliver and whatnot. But to try and be a travel photographer who tells long form stories and wants to shoot portraits, like, I don't know even who your clients would be. And so I think getting really crystal clear on, if I'm a travel photographer, there are companies like Lonely Planet, there are companies like Photos, there are travel magazines like, Traveler and Adventure and Nat Geo, and all those are really obvious connections as to potential outlets for your work. And you can take travel photos, you can take portraits and be a part of the travel photography world. So to me, that just will focus where you can go to get clients, which right now, if you told me I want to do long form storytelling, shoot portraits, and go to cool places, it's harder for me to be prescriptive because I don't know who's hiring for that particular thing. But it sounds like you're a travel photographer. There are websites, a new website a friend of mine launched called Roam, which is adventure storytelling online, ROAM. You should check it out. My friend Gerard and a bunch of well-known travel photographers like Jimmy Chin and Chris Burkhardt. But I realize we've sort of been all over the place a little bit, but to me that's one of the things that's also a strong indication of how can you focus? How can you focus on who your clients are and what kind of work you're going to be world-class at? That's not saying don't do these other things. Like, you can take all kinds of pictures, but what do you want to be known for? What's going to be your core business? And get really good, get known for that, knock that out of the park, and then start to expand a little bit. So how's that? Dominique, are you feeling 25% better than when you called, or are you feeling 25% worse?
Oh, I'll raise that to 50%. No, that was really solid advice, and I appreciate you taking the time. I'm kind of processing it all. It's really a lot to take in, so I appreciate it.
I get it. I'm gonna leave you with one thing, and that is the part at the beginning, like finding out how much you can charge for your work. Finding out, like, if you work for some of those magazines that I talked about, they have published rates. This is how much we pay for a full page. This is how much we pay for an assignment. So getting good enough to be on the regular rotation of shooting for those magazines or for those travel companies or shooting for Airbnb. I don't know, they have thousands of photographers all over the world. There are established rates there. And if you're good enough to negotiate your own stuff at some point, that will come over time. But just keep an eye and be mindful of what you need to do is learn to position yourself, learn to ask for what your work is worth, and you only do that through practice. That's what I want you to take away. You got that? Awesome. Dominique from San Diego, please say hi to San Diego for me. I spent a lot of time at Mission Beach. I got plenty of sunburns, plenty of sunburns there. Thanks so much for calling on. I really appreciate it. It's bold to put yourself out there like this. So in the process of asking these questions and putting yourself out there, this is the muscle that I want you to keep strengthening. Don't be afraid. And all they can say is no. And in some ways, there's a blog post on my blog that I want you to go read right now, which is called Get Used to Hearing No. and it makes you a lot stronger and more adaptable. And over time, that's a muscle that you're going to get conditioned to see that as a positive instead of a negative. So that doesn't happen overnight either. But I want to say thanks. You're amazing. I appreciate you following along. And this episode will be published soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you again for being a guiding light for all us creatives that tend to get a little lost, and your team that's behind you and your guys' wives. Please come to San Diego. I'd love to take you out for some food. We have a great food culture down here.
Love it. That's a great invite. I appreciate you, Dominique. Thank you. Have a great day, great weekend.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Chase. Take care. Bye.
Dominique, thank you for calling in. We covered a lot of ground there. Not gonna lie, I covered a lot of ground, more than I thought. I think there's a couple of resources in there, if you just rewind that and watch it again, that are invaluable, absolutely critical. Some Chase Jarvis Lives I mentioned, a couple of books, and negotiating skills, getting used to putting yourself out there. That is a muscle that you develop. It is a habit that you get into, and you start to feel less and less weird, and you start to feel more and more empowered. So thanks again, Dominique. If you want your question on this show, it's super easy. All you gotta do is pick up this thing right here and dial 802-962-4357. Those last few letters, they do spell help, in case you were wondering. 802-962-4357. Leave a message there, and I'll answer the recorded message often, but I also, like I did today, may call you. I don't want you to be scared. This is a good time to put yourself out there. You have questions, other folks have questions. Share your question. Rising tide floats all the boats. Signing off until next time, I'm Chase. See you on the Daily Creative.